So this is the first song Joe Hill was known for, the first song that got into the songbook in the IWW Red Songbook, and it was written for the free speech fight, Spokane, Washington, 1909. Long-haired preachers come night every night, try to tell you what's wrong and what's right. Oh, that's about something to me. They will answer in voices so sweet. You will eat by and by, in that glorious land on the sky. Way up high, work and pray, come on, hey, you'll get pie in the sky when you die. That's why, for starvation only they play. They sing and they clap and they pray. So they've got all your coin on the drum. Then I'll tell you when you're on the phone. Everybody, you will eat by and by, in that glorious land on the sky. Well high, work and pray, live on hay, you'll get pie in the sky when you die. That's a lie. If you work hard for children and spouse, try to save for a dime, you're not hungry. You're surrounded by what they tell. When you die, you will sure go to hell. You will eat by and by, in that glorious land of the sky. Way up high, work and pray, live on hay, you'll get pie in the sky when you die. That's a lie. Hey, working folks of all countries unite. Side by side we for freedom will fight. When this world and its wealth we have gained, to the grafters we'll sing this refrain. One more time, listen. You'll eat by and by, when you learn how to cook and how to fry. Shout some wood, you eat good. Mary, if you can find the master, please take the master down to the right. Over here. There was a basket going around. Yeah, we don't need much at all on volume, I don't think, but Mary, I want to try. Patrick is going to be playing next, so he's over on channel 1 and 2. And you can take 3 and 4 down.
Sound person, I'm on 1 and my guitar's on 2.
Take 3 and 4 down. Thank you. Good. But if you haven't played with everybody in there yet, especially with everybody in class, we started last week. Last leg, and it's really great. Chris Chandler, David Rovics, and myself are doing the first leg of this part of the West Coast. We're picking up Mark, Ross, and Patrick Dodd. He's going to sing a couple songs. We're going up to Ashland. We're going to be in Phoenix tomorrow. Going all the way up, past Eugene and all the way to Bellingham. Patrick Dodd.
Thanks. You're going to hear a whole bunch of different kind of labor songs tonight. Some of them that Joe wrote, some of them that the people on this stage wrote. I'll start off with a couple of mine. Standing on my last mountaintop, can't help but looking back. All the places I went wandering, checking out my tracks. Well, all I see is sweat and toil, but that don't bother me. If all I am is a working man, I'm in good company. Talking about labor, lay the hands upon the wheel. I'm talking about labor. We built a land out of sweat and steel. And if all I am is a working stiff, hey, that's all right with me. 'Cause it was labor that built every home, the land of the free. It was labor that built every home, the land of the free. Native born or foreign, a free person or in chains, the calluses got just as hard and that sweat was all the same. Those highways and the railroads, you build your sweat in your hands, still stand as a monument to labor now across this big old land. Talking about labor, lay the hands upon the wheel. Talking about labor, we built a land out of sweat and steel. And if all I am is a working stiff, well, that's all right with me. 'Cause it was labor that built every home, the land of the free. It was labor that built every home, the land of the free. We got lasers and computers. We got air hammers, spitting steel nails. The one thing that ain't changed a lick is our labor that's for sale. And we know our history. We built this place step by step. It's time to let this whole world know we ain't done building yet. Talking about labor, lay the hands upon the wheel. Talk about labor, we built a land out of sweat and steel. And if all I am is a working stiff, hey, that's all right with me. 'Cause it was labor that built every home, the land of the free. It was labor that built every home, the land of the free. And we will close every sweatshop down, and we will reach equal pay. And we will let every governor know you don't get in our way. You will not export our jobs, you won't pollute our land. 'Cause this here's labor's country, and that there's labor's stand. Talking about labor, lay the hands upon the wheel. Talk about labor, we built a land out of sweat and steel. And if all I am is a working stiff, hey, that's all right with me. 'Cause it was labor that built every home, the land of the free. So shake hands with me, you working stiff, you're all right by me. 'Cause it was labor that built every home, the land of the free. It was labor that built every home, the land of the free. Thank you, guys. Thank you. You know, one of the things that Joe and I, besides hanging out on strike lines and writing songs, which is really about as much fun as it sounds like. It really is. It's a good time. But aside from doing that, another thing we both kind of like doing is picking on organized religion. I picked this song up on a carpenter strike. I was listening to a couple of carpenters talk to a priest who had walked up and asked us to curb our language. And this was the response that he got. The priest, he stopped by to see us. It was just about supper time. He said, boys, I'm worried about all the harsh words I'm hearing up and down this picket line. He said, boys, You can't go building walls, you know, out of hatred and fear. 'Cause when the strike is all settled and done, you and the boss will still be here. Well, a man stepped out of that moving line. He stood maybe 2 feet away. Looked like Red, too. He said, Father, I don't mean to get in your face, but I want you to hear what I say. You see, I don't know if I can believe in God, but by God I believe in paid overtime. And if Jesus was here, sir, he'd be out on this line. You see, I don't think there's that much difference between his family and mine. And if Jesus was a carpenter, he'd be walking this line. If Jesus was a carpenter, he'd be walking this line. Well, the priest, he looked kind of startled. He said, you don't have to act so rough. Man said, I don't want no confusion, sir. You see, sometimes enough is enough. Because I don't ever really get to see my kids, and I'm not even making decent pay. If Jesus pounded nails in the shop, by God, he would feel the same way. You see, I don't know if I can believe in God, but by God, I believe in paid overtime. And if Jesus was here, sir, he'd be out on this line. So let me ask you something, Father. Would you like me to get you a sign? 'Cause if Jesus was a carpenter, he'd be walking this line. If Jesus was a carpenter, he'd be walking this line. If Jesus was a carpenter, he'd be walking this line.
Yeah.
Thank you, guys. George Mann.
Mary, I'm on 1 and 2. I'm on 1 and 2, Mary.
Bring a dog over here. Let's go. Let's go. Come a dog. Come here. Come here.
And Mary, if you could notch down the vein just a tiny bit more, so we don't get any more feedback. Thanks. I'm just thinking old Woody Guthrie song, one of these great songs from the 30s, or late 30s, I guess, when he first started out. I ain't got no home in this world anymore. I ain't got no home, I'm just a rambling round. I'm just a wandering worker, and I'm going from town to town. Police make it hard, Lord, wherever I may go. And I ain't got no home in this world anymore. Was farming on the shares, Lord, and always I was cold. Crops I laid into the banker's store. My wife took down and died upon my cabin floor. And I ain't got no home in this world anymore.
Hooked up with an Australian Shepherd Kelpie. No, that's not. Yeah. That's like big colors.
Was farming on the shares, Lord, always I was poor. My crops I laid into the banker's store. My wife took down died upon my cabin floor. And I ain't got no home in this world anymore. look around, it is mighty plain to see. This wide and wicked world is a funny old place to be. The gambling man is rich, oh, and the working man is poor. And I ain't got no home in this world anymore. Oh, I ain't got no home. I'm just a rambling round. I'm just a wandering worker, and I'm going from town to town. And police make it hard, Lord, wherever I may go. And I ain't got no home in this world anymore. Yeah, the police make it hard, Lord, wherever I may go. And I ain't got no home in this world anymore. Well, thank you. And one of the things that all of us on stage share is a love for and a friendship and an awareness of how great an artist Bruce Utah Phillips was, let alone a great wobbly, right? Yeah. So I want to sing you one of Utah's great songs. It's 8 years now since Utah, 7 years since Utah passed, a little over 7 years since Utah passed. And we were in Nevada City just a couple of days ago, sang with his son Brendan, carrying on the tradition, singing those great old wobbly songs that Utah was so well known for. And of course the story of the hobos and the tramps, and of course the bums along the way. So this great, I want to sing this song, all used up, Utah says. He wrote this after seeing an old man in a hotel. And he didn't know, he said, you know, this is his story or not, but he said, I know it's not going to be mine. I hope it's not yours. All used up, Utah Phillips. I spent my whole life making somebody rich. I busted my ass for that son of a bitch. And he left me to die like a dog in a ditch. And he told me I'm all used up. He used up my labor, he used up my time. Plundered my body and squandered my mind. And gave me a pension of handouts and wine. Told me I'm all used up. My kids are in hock to a god you call work, slaving their lives out for some of the jerk. Yeah, my youngest in Frisco just made shipping clerk, and he don't know I'm all used up. Oh, young people reaching for power and gold, they don't have respect for anything old, for pennies that bought and for promises sold. One day they'll all be used up. Now if you want to know how far ahead this guy was, remember Utah wrote this in the 70s, this next verse. They use up the oil, they use up the trees, they use up the air and they use up the sea. Well, how about you, for and then how about me? What's left when we're all used up? I finished my life in this crummy hotel. It's lousy with bugs, and my God, what a smell. But my plumbing still works, and I'm clear as a bell. Don't tell me I'm all used up. Outside my window, the world rushes by, gives me a handout that spits in my eye, and no one can tell me, cause no one knows why. I'm living, but I'm all used up. Sometimes my dreams, I sit by a tree. My life is a book of how things used to be, and kids gather around and they listen to me, and they don't think I'm all used up. And there's songs and there's laughter and things I can do, and all I've learned I can give back to you. I give my last breath just to make it come true. And no, I'm not all used up. Yeah, they use up the oil, they use up the trees, they use up the air and they use up the sea. Well, how about you, friend, and how about me? What's left when we're all used up? Woo! You talk. Okay, now we're going to move over to Mark on 2 and 4, Mary, so you'll be able to mute 1 and 3 and 4. Mark, he's on 1 and 2. Mark, of course, played with Utah for many, many years, and he's one of the most under-known folk singers in America.
The most unknown.
Yeah, the most unknown. We're glad you made it down from Eugene. Mark Ross.
Yeah! So Joe Hill was killed in Salt Lake City in 1915. And he sent a telegram to Big Bill Haywood the night before, and he said, tell the boys I died a true rebel. Don't mourn for me organized. Could you have my body it's only 100 miles to the Wyoming state line. Could you have my body shipped there? Because I don't want to be caught dead in Utah. They shipped his body to Chicago, and they had this huge funeral, 30,000 people, and he was cremated. And they took his ashes and scattered them in little envelopes and mailed them all over, except for one envelope, which was sitting in the IWW office safe in 1917 when the government busted us because we opposed America's entry into World War I. Let's flash forward a number of years. In the 1980s, the Justice Department took 50 boxes of stuff and handed it to the National Archives. And lo and behold, in one of those boxes was that envelope for Joe Hill's ashes. Well, we heard about this. We put in a request. Please, can we have Joe back? We didn't want one iota of him left in government hands. They gave us the ashes. They wouldn't give us the envelope. The National Archives is charged with the preservation of information, and there was writing on the envelopes, and I kept the envelope. I was running the IWW office in Missoula, Montana at the time, and I put in a request to use some of those ashes in the ceremonies. Spread some on Frank Little's grave in Butte. He was lynched in 1917 for organizing the miners there. Did some action with the Earth First, and we spread some of the ashes on the Clark Fork River. But before we did all that, both Utah Phillips and I took a couple of grains of Joe Hill and put them in our guitars. So I'd like to tell you that Joe Hill is with you tonight. All right. This is a song that Joe wrote for the San Pedro Railway strike of 1910, 1911, where everybody on the railroad went out on strike except the locomotive engineers, who considered themselves the aristocrats of labor. It's called union stabbing. It's sort of like you're about to be hung.
I know, dude. I remember that. Dude, I remember that.
And as you approach the scaffold, the hangman says to you, "I'll have you know that that scaffold was built by union carpenters. And that rope was braided by union rope makers. And here, sir, is my card." Well, now the workers on the SB line to strike sent out a call. But Casey Jones, the engineer, he wouldn't strike at all. His boiler was leaking and his engine's on the plumb. His driver's and his parents are all out of plumb. Casey Jones kept his junk pile running. Casey Jones, he's working double time. Casey Jones, he got a one medal for being good and faithful to the SB line. Well, Warren said to Kelsey, "Won't you help us with this strike?" But Casey Jones said, "Let me alone, you better take a hike." And someone put a railroad tie right across the track, and Casey hit the river with an awful crack. And Casey Jones, he hit the river bottom. Casey Jones, he broke his blooming spine. Casey Jones, he baby came to Angelito, took a trip to heaven on the SB line. Well, Casey Jones got up to heaven to the pearly gates. He said, "I'm Casey Jones, the guy that pulled the SB freight. You're just the man," said St. Peter. "Our musicians there on strike. You can get a job of scabbing anytime you like." Casey Jones got a job in heaven. Casey Jones, he's doing mighty fine. Casey Jones, he went scabbing off the angels just like he did the workers on the SB line. Well, when the angels got together, they said it wasn't fair for Casey Jones to go around the scabbing everywhere. At Angels Union number 23, they were there, and they promptly fired Casey down the golden stairs. Casey Jones, he went to hell to fire. Casey Jones, well, the devil set on fire. Casey Jones, you get busy shoveling sulfur. That's what you get for scabbing off
A street light!
Well, the last time I was here was a couple of years ago for the Olympics.
That was after.
Did you compete, Mark?
No, I didn't get to stay around for the event I really wanted to see. Was the comatose boyfriend. Nice to see those signs up there. We see a lot of signs up on the streets. Wow. I saw a guy up in Portland, up on the entrance of the Ross Island Bridge. And on the side, about 6 foot long, cardboard sign said, "You're at here, hobo." Here's your new national anthem. Some of you look like you qualify. Oh, why don't you work like other folks do? How can I find a job when you're holding down to hallelujah, hallelujah, again, hallelujah, give a hand out to revive us again.
Hell yeah.
Rejoice and be glad when springtime has come. We can all quit our jobs and go on the farm. Hallelujah, hallelujah, again. Hallelujah, give a hand out to revive us again. Well, I like my boss. He's a good friend of mine. That's why I'm starving out on the bread line. Hallelujah, hallelujah, again. Hallelujah, give a hand out to revive us again. Now when I make all the money I earn, then the boss will be broke and to work he must turn. Hallelujah, hallelujah, again. Hallelujah, give a hand out to revive us again. I learned this song from Utah Phillips. You know, Utah taught me a lot of things. Taught me not to wear a hat that had more character than I did. Taught me how to drink whiskey instead of vodka so people would know I was drunk and not stupid. This song was written by a fellow by the name of Harry Kirby McClintock. He was a cowboy, a sheep herder, a railroader, a mule skinner, a soldier, a sailor, an IWW organizer, and in 1927 he gave up the life he loved to become a recording star. He's the author of such songs as this one and The Big Rock Candy Mountain. Let's see. What else he wrote, "Don't hit your brother on the head with a shovel because it makes a bad impression on his mind." When World War I come along, he donated his services to the country and he wrote that great marching song, "She Kissed Me at the Station and I Went Off in My Uniform." Like I said, I learned this from Utah, from Phillips. He tells me that he learned it from his Uncle Dean, who he said was the biggest bum that ever lived. He was such a big bum that he did his first honest day's work on the day he died. How, you may ask, a man can do his first honest day's work on the day he died?
Oh.
Thank you. See, when he died, his wife had him cremated, and she took his ashes and she put them in an hourglass, and she used them to time eggs with. That's how. She always said on his best day was never good for more than 3 minutes anyway. And knocked on the door. And the lady said, "Scram bum, you've been here before." Hallelujah, I'm a bum. Hallelujah, bum again. Hallelujah, give the hand out to revive us again. Well, I went to this house. I asked for some bread. And the lady said, "Scram bum, the bakery's dead." Hallelujah, I'm a bum. Hallelujah, bum again. Hallelujah, gives a hand out to revive us again. I went to this bar, I asked for a drink, and they hand me a glass, and they show me the sink. Hallelujah, I'm a bum. Hallelujah, I'm in. Hallelujah, gives a hand out to revive us again. Are you enjoying all this foo-for-ah around the primaries? The one person we haven't heard from lately is Dick Cheney. That's because he's been in the hospital. He had some heart problems or something. And when he was in the hospital, he was being Dick Cheney. In other words, a complete asshole. And the people who worked in the hospital were getting real sick and tired of it. And one nurse decided to take matters into her own hands. She came in one morning, she said, "Mr. Vice President, we have to take your temperature. Would you please roll over?" And Cheney barked at her, "Well, you've been using one of those little digital thingabobs." She says, that's not quite as accurate. Would you roll over? He says, "I will not." She says, "Look, when you're out there, you're the former vice president, but in here, I'm in charge. Roll over." And he did, and she made her insertions. I'll be back in a couple of minutes. About 20 minutes later, another nurse walked into the room, took in the situation at a glance, and said, "What is going on here?" And Cheney barked over her shoulder, "I'm having my temperature taken, can't you tell?" And she said, "With an American flag?" Oh, the trickle-down theory is a horse the rich ride. Guess which end of that nag is our supply side. Hallelujah, I'm a bum. Hallelujah, bum again. Hallelujah, give us a handout to revive us again. If I was a banker with gold in the vault, I'd steal all the money and I'd say it's your fault. Hallelujah, I'm a bum. Hallelujah, bum again. Hallelujah, give us a handout to revive us again. So why don't you work like other folk do? How can I find a job when you're holding down two? Hallelujah, I'm a bum. Hallelujah, bum again. Hallelujah, give us a handout to revive us again. Thank you.
But I think
Give it up, that was Mark Ross. Coming to my left, coming to you from Portland, Oregon, America's true troubadour, the mighty, mighty David Rovics.
Everything that was on the washboard behind.
I don't know if I'm mighty.
So if we lose, if we're missing anything next
but yeah, I gotta go.
it's all behind this. Everything is there. Because that's where all. I just kind of flipped
No. The song that Joe Hill wrote. No, that's surprising.
Dog. Hey, call Spree. Spree. Shady. Call Spree. Spree.
For it is the extinction of the workers of the world. And I hope you'll all be ready, true-hearted, brave and steady, together round our standard when the red flag is unfurled, where the Fraser River flows. Each fellow worker knows they have bullied and oppressed us, but still our union grows. And we're going to find a way, boys, shorter hours and better pay, boys. And we're going to win the day, boys, where the Fraser River flows. For these gunny sack contractors have all been dirty actors, and they're not our benefactors, each fellow worker knows. So we've got to stick together in fine or dirty weather, and then we'll show no white feather where the Fraser River flows. where the Fraser River flows. Each fellow worker knows they have to lead and oppress us, but still our union grows. And we're going to find a way, boys, shorter hours and better pay, boys. And we're going to win the day, boys, where the Fraser River flows. And they are a fine collection, as only Jesus knows. But why their mothers reared them, and why the devil spared them, are questions we can't answer. Where the Fraser River flows, where the Fraser River flows. Every fellow worker knows they have bullied and oppressed us, but still our union grows. And we're going to find a way, boys, shorter hours and better pay, boys. And we're going to win the day, boys, where the Fraser River flows. We're going to win the day, boys, where the Fraser River flows. I've been making a career this whole year capitalizing on the death of Joe Hill, and I was, I think we can, it's all mutually something. It seems good. He'd capitalize on my death, hopefully. I could only hope if it were, if I died 100 years ago. But, I hope he desecrates my grave, too. But he's dead. Somebody should desecrate. If anybody gets around to it, desecrate my grave, please. And,
let us know when you're gonna die.
what's that?
Let us know when you're gonna die.
Okay, I'll give you some advance warning. Sometimes it's more convenient. Like in the case of Joe Hill, you knew, and it was going to happen. The old Haglund came from Sweden, which was very far from Eden. By the time he left, most of his family died. His sisters and his mother, his father and his brothers, so with one remaining sibling at his side. He took a notion to sail across the ocean, where he heard the streets were paved with gold. Not long after his arrival, as he toiled for survival, he realized the bill of goods that he'd been sold. He got a whole lot wiser, became an organizer, and he organized with artistry and skill. He spoke up, raised his fist, got right on the blacklist. That's why he changed his name to Joe Hill. He heard that it was best if he headed to the west, where the industrial workers of the world were finding the solutions for making revolution, with red songbook and red flag unfurled. 100 years ago, the bard with the union card proved his music was too powerful, too strong. They couldn't stand the sound, they had to take him down, lest he organized the working class in song. Soon as he paid his dues, he tried hard to light the fuse, speaking, singing, writing lyrics and cartoons. He sent off the whole mess to the wobbly press, and they sang his songs as they fought the goons. He joined a singing movement that fought for improvement by abolishing wage slavery worldwide. He sang the wobbly line, beseeching workers to combine, learn from Mr. Block, the boss's lied. 100 years ago, the bard with the union card proved his music was too powerful, too strong. They couldn't stand the sound, they had to take him down, lest he organized the working class in song. his life would be cut short by a kangaroo court, eager to determine one man's fate. Evidence was circumstantial, but that's inconsequential when you've become an enemy of the state. They put him up against the wall, and that was all. They gunned him down in 1915. He took all the bullets he could take there by the Salt Lake for being the best bard they'd ever seen. 100 years ago, the bard with the Union card proved his music was too powerful, too strong. They couldn't stand the sound, they had to take him down, lest he organized the working class in song. 100 years ago, the bard with the Union card proved his music was too powerful, too strong. They couldn't stand the sound, they had to take him down, lest he organized the working class in song. Lest he organized the working class in song.
Mary, we need these mics up on this side.
I'll sit there.
Are you gonna sit? You wanna sit or stand? Sit there.
Transitions. Very theatrical. You guys are, this is really fun. It's fantastic music around the campfire. And then, having a blast. Dreamed I saw Joe Hill last night, alive as you and me. Says I'm a Joe, you're 10 years dead. I never died, says he. I never died, says he.
I did not dream I saw Joe Hill last night. I simply saw Joe Hill last night. Alive in you and alive in me. The work of Eugene Debs and the work of Cesar Chavez did not die 75 or even 25 years ago. It will never die, says me, for it will never die in me.
The copper bosses killed you, Joe. They shot you, Joe, says I. Takes more than guns to kill a man, says Joe. I didn't die, says Joe. I didn't die.
The billy clubs of Ferguson and the tear gas on the streets of Occupy killed you, Joe. They ran you out of town, says some. But it takes more than that to shut us down, which is why we'll stay right here, which is why we will not die.
And standing there as big as life, smiling with his eyes, says Joe, what they forgot to kill went on to organize, went on to organize.
And organize he did. And standing there as big as life is the work of the United Students Against Sweatshop. Standing there as big as life is the work of the School of the Americas Watch, is the United Mountain Defense Fund. Earth First, Nurses Without Borders, Black Lives Matter, who struggle to create a world where all human beings are valued as whole human beings and not as a product in the pursuit of a very different kind of profit. Joe Hill went on to organize the unorganized.
From San Diego up to Maine, In every mine and mill where workers strike and organize, it's there you'll find Joe Hill. It's there you'll find Joe Hill.
And from Johannesburg to Immokalee, from Zuccotti Park to Ferguson, from Oakland to Baltimore, from Prague to Sidi Boise, that is where you will find Joe Hill, because that is where you will find you and me.
I dreamed I saw Joe Hill last night.
I did not dream I saw Joe Hill last night. I was Joe Hill last night. I am Joe Hill today. I am Joe Hill. I am Michael Brown. I am Victor Hara. I am Rachel Corey. I am Joe Hill. I am Joe Hill. I will never die, says me, for I will never die in me.
Says he. I'll never die, says he.
David Rovics. Don't forget to do a close.
Lauren, if you're out there, you want to join us with this one?
Lauren, come on back up. We actually rehearsed this stuff once. We're going to close the first set with another great song of Joe's. Thank you so much. All the artists here have music out there. We even have Joe Hill t-shirts, which I would love to get also mine with them tonight because we already wore our dirty ones. And there are some Joe Hill calendars. If anybody wants them, I know the year's almost over, but there's some wonderful commemorative information in there, historical information about Joe, and of course the Wobblies. Red donated them, I think, right? Red, yeah. So there's a bunch of them here. Feel free to take one. We're going to do one more song and take a break of about 10 or 15 minutes, and then we'll be back with some more music. This is one of Joe's great songs.
Would you have freedom from wage slavery, then join in the grand industrial band? Would you from misery and hunger be free? Come on, do your share, lend a hand. There is power in a band of working folks. When we stand, hand in hand, there's a power that must rule in every land. One industrial union grand. If you like sluggers to beat on your head, that don't organize, all unions despise. If you want nothing until you are dead, shake hands with your boss and look wise. There is power in a band of working folks. When we stand, hand in hand, that's a power that must rule in every land. One industrial union brand. So come all you workers from every land, join in the grand industrial band. If you your share of this wealth would demand, come on, do your share, lend a hand. There is power in a band of working folks. When we stand, hand in hand, that's a power that must rule in every land. One industrial union grand.
We'll come back sooner than spring.
Union break.
Union break 10 minutes.
Came and found me and just like jumped
I'm not.